Let's talk about sanity from the yogic point of view. I'm not talking from the mental health point of view. I'm not a mental health person. But let's talk about sanity from the point of view of yoga, from the point of view of the spiritual path, from the point of view of remedying madness, remedying derangement. We hear so often these days that people are feeling insane, that they are dealing with circumstances in the world that are insane. Insane leaders with insane followers making insane decisions with insane results. And then everything, all of this is so normalized that it creates a whole other level of insanity, the gaslighting effect, where these big issues are happening and it is quite mad, it is quite deranged, but everything is talked about as if it's normal. There are yoga teachings, there are yoga practices that we have at our disposal that are for this, that are remedies for this. And I want to talk about a couple of them. One is a teaching that comes from our master, Nityananda of Ganesh Puri. You know, anything that I do, it's just a very dim reflection of what I've received from my gurus. I'm just a translator. I'm just here to pass along their teachings and their wisdom, and in some cases, very ancient wisdom. In some cases, uh, more modern wisdom, but from a different context. So Nityananda, when he was young, this is in the early 20th century, gave a number of teachings orally to a group of his close disciples and devotees, and they were written down. They were spoken in very strange kind of aphoristic language. He spoke a language called Tulu, which is kind of a vernacular version of Kannada, South Indian um, language, Dravidian language. Anyway, these were written down and then uh, translated sometimes into English, sometimes into other languages. There are no great translations of it, so I can't like send you off to go study this. But it's called the Chiddakasha Gita. The Chiddakasha. The Chiddakasha is like um, the the sky of consciousness, or the space of consciousness. I have translated and rendered a few of the verses from Chiddakasha Gita. It's a project that I'm working on, and when we talk about sanity, let's talk about the very first verse. I'm just going to read you the translation, straight translation, and then we'll talk about it. And remember, he was a very atypical being and spoke in a very atypical way. So this first verse, it says, Yanis are mindless. Yani is another word like yogi. In this case, he means someone who has attained yana, who has attained ultimate wisdom. Yanis are mindless, he says. For Yanis, everything is the same. For them, the three states do not exist. For them, they are always in sleep. For them, the sun and moon are the same. For them, it is always sunrise. When the glass of a lamp is covered by soot, the light cannot shine. In the same way, the soot of the mind should be removed. All right, are you still here? Are you still with me? There's a lot in this. This is only the first of many, many of these aphorisms. The yanis are mindless. So the yogi, you could substitute the word yogi here. The yogi is mindless. What does that mean? Well, when he says that everything is the same, the sun and the moon, the day and the night, uh, they're always the same. It's always sunrise to the to the yogi. He's not saying that there is no mind. And also understand his standard, like the being that he's referring to as a being like himself, which is in a very, very high non-dual state of awareness. He's talking about the non-dual state of awareness. He's not saying that everything is bland. He's not saying that there's no beauty, when he says everything is the same. He's not saying that the delightful differences in the world don't exist. What he's saying is that the yogi's mind is not an obstruction the way it is for us. For us, our mind is just constantly making differences and ranking everything. We like this, we don't like that. That is pleasure, that is pain. This person's good, this person's bad. On and on and on and on and on. He's saying that's not there for the yogi. They've moved beyond that. Okay, that's a very high state. Let that be our goal, but let that not be our standard for today. Let's look at the last part, because the last part of this aphorism, he gives the remedy. He says, when the glass of a lamp is covered by carbon, he used the word carbon, actually the English word, covered by soot, the light cannot shine. In the same way, the soot of the mind should be removed. He's talking about one of these old-fashioned chimney lamps. And over time, they get blackened and the light gets obscured. In that case, what is the carbon? What is it? The carbon comes from the shining. The carbon comes from the burning. It just builds up. It's the residue. The carbon is like it's the excrement, you could say. It's the waste product. It's part of it that is produced through this process of the burning, through this process of the illumination. We don't stop the burning of the mind. The mind is an unstoppable force. But we can pay attention to the amount of carbon that is in our chimney, that's on our glass. Yeah? Every thought, every experience that we have, it leaves this residue. And that residue builds up. And as I was reflecting on this, I was thinking about all of these outrageous things that we're seeing on the news and that we're experiencing in the world and, even in our lives, right? All the time. The first time that we experience them, there's a vulnerable potential. There's a potential for being in the moment with it, and that moment is very painful. There's horror. There's heartbreak. To the extent that we're empathic, it's painful to experience other people going through pain. It's terrifying to see the choices that are being made. And so then the result is that soot then goes on the glass, and then the next time we're facing that situation, there's a little barrier. Yeah, because it goes both ways, right? Right? If there's soot on the glass, the light doesn't shine out, but also the outside world doesn't shine in. So we can think of this soot and we can think of our insanity as being like a protective layer. It's too much. It's too much to live in this world. We have this idea of the HSP, the highly sensitive person. Many people who are listening to this might relate to that, might consider yourselves HSPs. So, what are we going to do living in this brutal world? It's painful, it's terrifying to be delicate. So we put on these layers of armor and protection that are built up from all these experiences that we've had. Right? It's the soot, it's the residue of the thinking and feeling that we've done in the past. But the thing is, the armor is not selective. The armor doesn't discriminate between what is horror and what is beauty. Just like he's saying that, like, the awareness of a yani, the awareness of a yogi doesn't discriminate between the day and the night, between good and bad, and so on. That armor that we walk around in our everyday life, it doesn't just protect us from the pain, it protects us from the pleasure too. Have you had this experience where you go into nature, maybe, or maybe you fall in love, maybe, or you're exposed to some piece of art that just takes your breath away, that just you've never seen anything like it before, you don't have any residue for it, in other words. And how do you feel? You feel amazing. When the beauty of something in nature touches you and you're able to be touched, there's nothing like it. The blush of new love has that same thing, or like encountering a baby, especially encountering your baby, or a baby of someone who someone that you love. There's this full experience. Well, this is what Nityananda is pointing us to as a remedy for insanity, as I read it. How can we be open like that and not just be chewed to pieces by this world? That's the question. Is how can we perhaps remove the soot of the mind as he is instructing us so that our light can shine fully, our love can be given fully, our goodness that we have to give to this world can be given fully, our good energy, our blessings, our wisdom, our service, all those things can shine out fully, but also so that life can get on us fully too. And I mean the beauty of life, I mean the love that surrounds us. It's like, have you ever felt like you're taking a shower with a raincoat on, living in this world all gunked up? The yoga, the Maha Yoga, the working with Kundalini Shakti that we do, is a lot of it is degunking. A lot of it is desooting. A lot of it is getting ourselves more and more open, more and more clear to what's happening. And and this is so important. This is kind of the next part of this. If we're on the path of yoga and degunking, it means that the divine is part of the equation. This is what gets lost. This is what gets left out in the modern yoga industry. God is not popular to talk about any kind of sacredness or whatever. At the spa, it's like, wait a second, we didn't try to come to church today. I am the top of my food chain. I am the supreme person in this yoga class. I just paid, my monthly, all you can, all you can do yoga card, my monthly pass. Look at my beautiful yoga mat. You know, I just signed up for this retreat or this ceremony or this whatever it is, and it's all about me. It's not about God. It's not about surrender. It's not about getting small. It's about getting big, you know? But the thing is, these teachings, they all come from a context where God was part of it. And if you don't like the word God, then, call it the divine or the beloved or goddess or grace, the guru, whatever it is that works for you. That's real and authentic and potent, I might add. Not just what is comfortable if you're uncomfortable with saying God. To be able to be so open, we have to know what we are held by. This is bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is a big part of it, is like having this reliable, authentic, and like real connection with the divine. It's not just a concept, it's an experience. We're in touch with it. We practice every day to stay in touch with it, to get in touch with it, to stay in touch with it. That's what we're doing in bhakti yoga. Well, so many different practices: chanting, meditating, doing like, having an altar or doing some kind of like formal sort of connection, being in nature with that specific intention. So many things: serving others, feeding people, beautiful practices. But the purpose of it is always to have that connection, not intellectual, but have that connection in ourselves, in our bodies, in our emotional heart. Also conceptually, okay, that's part of it too, is we have some ideas about what that divine is and how it works. Okay, teachings that kind of help us make this connection in what we call the middle heart, but also connected in our lower heart, like connected in our body, connected in our direct somatic experience of being human. We're standing on the earth, we're held by the earth. What is the earth held by? Space. Okay, what is the space held by? The Isha Upanishad says, everything that moves in this changing world is enveloped by God. So we find our joy in renunciation, not by coveting what belongs to others. Since everything is pervaded by God, nothing belongs to you, not even your own body. My teacher added that last part. Everything that moves in this changing world is enveloped by God. The Jnani, the yogi, the bhakti yogi, they know this. We know this in our bones. And so then we can be open. We can degunk and know that we're okay. We can be horrified. We should be horrified without being dismayed. We can be empathic We can be empathetic without being destroyed. We can do the work in the world. We can do the work of uplifting our world without getting burned out, without getting strung out, because we know that it's not us doing the work. Look, my main bhakti practice is Guru Bhakti. Guru Bhakti. Every day, I do practices to remind myself that I am just a dim reflection of my gurus. The best job that I can do on any given day is just to be open enough, clear enough that you can receive some of their grace, their teachings. Then my shoulders aren't, they're not bearing weight. It's not always the case. Like I said, I have to do these practices daily. So in bhakti yoga, we do this degunking process, but we do this degunking process held by that and learning to be held by that. Then we can be sane in this insane world. And sane means horrified. Sane doesn't mean that like we're just kind of okay with everything that's going on. When things are not going on well, the new age wants us to calm down all the time and just accept that everything is perfect. Well, Om Purnamidam, Purnamida, Purnamudachate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnameva Vashishate. That mantra, also in Upanishads and other places, it says, this and that, everything is Purna. Purna. Sometimes it's translated as perfect. Purna means full. It means perfect, but it's like everything is everything. Like everything is completely full, like the full moon. It doesn't mean that there's nothing going wrong. It doesn't mean that there's no pain happening or harm being perpetrated. And it definitely doesn't mean that we're trying to pursue perfection in some limited human sense that causes great, great suffering. No. Everything that moves in this changing world is enveloped by God. Everything that moves in this changing world includes a lot of painful stuff, a lot of maddening things. The sanity comes in understanding that that is held and aligning ourselves with that force that holds it. This is one chunk. The other chunk, and please, let's do some work together so we can really get into this, not just listen to a video. Do some private work with me, and we'll do this one-on-one in your life, whatever it is for you. Do our 9-month training. This year it's 9 months, sometimes it's 6 months. Do the long form training, advanced training that we do, and then you'll be with a group of other really ardent and awesome people. And you'll be in a small group going through this work. Or come to India with us. We go to India every year and like dive into, but it's like to really get into this. It's like, let's really get into it. So the one chunk is this piece that I was sharing, Nityananda's teaching about the soot, the carbon. It's like degunking, taking off that armor and just being open the way that we are when we're in a beautiful meadow, when we're in the beauty of nature, when we're in the presence of a baby, like that sort of openness all the time. Nityananda Baba is called Avdut. Avdut. He didn't wear many clothes. He sort of wore a loincloth. When he was younger, he didn't wear any clothes, and he's part of a lineage, our lineage of masters. Many of them were naked. Digambara is the word. It means like clad only in the sky. And they weren't trying to display anything. They weren't trying to make a statement from their nudity, but it was just they were so connected to that force. They were so protected that Natha, our lineage is also called Natha, which means protected. They were so protected that they could be just completely unprotected. Right? Again, it's not a standard for us. That's not the teaching that we should take off our clothes or that we need to be at that level. But it's an aspiration energetically that we can be unprotected and still be sane. So there's this piece, the degunking piece. The other chunk is in the meantime, when we're moving toward that, how are we? How is our attitude? What qualities are we embodying? The Bhakti Yoga teachings, yeah, it's about chanting. Yeah, it's about devotion and loving God and all of that. It is. But so many of the teachings in the traditional texts, like Bhagavad Gita, are long lists of qualities of being. They're lists of these virtues, you could call them, these attitudes, these bhavanas that we cultivate. It's not just the bhavana of, Bhakti Fest, of like, oh, get in the bhav. No, no, no. These are different facets of strength that we cultivate and different weaknesses that we eliminate within ourselves. Things like fearlessness, abhaya, things like forbearance, titiksha. It's like we the ability to endure hardship, titiksha. It's such a good one. Humility, hri, gentleness. I think it's Somya, but I don't remember the Sanskrit right now. But gentleness is a really important one for me to remember. So many respect the attitude of service, patience, saburi, faith, shraddha. All of these qualities that in the meantime we cultivate. My teacher used to say, in the beginning is love, and the end is love. In between, we cultivate virtues. Because then at least we know how to be. Then at least we're not left at the mercy of our reactions, left at the mercy of our triggers. How do we react to the situation? Shraddha, saburi. This was Sai Baba's teaching, Shirdi Sai Baba's teaching, with faith. And saburi is like patience, but it's so much deeper than that. It's like this contentment. It's like this, like having the faith. Then that saburi is there where you're just really like you're not like striving, you're not freaked out, you're not gripping. That's how we react. And then fearlessly, then with vigor, with virya, with discrimination, with viveka, with detachment, with vairagya. We know we have the the playbook. We have the instructions. So these are the things that we work with in Bhakti Yoga. This is a way that we try to maintain sanity in this insane world. What is sanity? Sanity is having the strength and the freedom to follow our best intentions. We know what's good most of the time. We know what is the way to respond to situations most of the time. And we know that if we don't know how to respond, the way is not to respond. We know that, right? We know that intellectually, but are we free enough to do that? Well, not, then we're coming back to the soot. Then we're coming back to the degunking. Then we're coming back to the nakedness. Here, these are just a few things to think about today, my friends. Let us know what you think. Please put your reactions down below and share this with your friends. All these things we're supposed to say, right? Today. And like I said, please reach out, do some deeper work with us. Let's get into it together. This was never meant to be done alone. I know that I couldn't do it. I offer my deepest respect and love and salutations to you, to all my teachers, and all of yours. Bye for now.